Hello there, very good evening. Welcome to another edition of Primetime News on TV1. We're coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. I'm Charlene Benedict for the Newsfirst team.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekara. Here are your headlines for tonight.
Footage of Jakarta operation where organized criminals were arrested, released. Investigations into drug trafficking of Bako Saman and his gang handed over to the Police Narcotics Bureau. Prime Minister stresses that no one behind drug trafficking operations will be saved. An investigation into Vajira's assets. Supreme Court determines that the bill to remove president's entitlements is constitutional. Nepali President and Prime Minister resign amid mass protests. The Asia Cup T20 cricket tournament begins today. All matches to be telecast on TV1.
We begin today's news, of course, with a story that's been making waves across the country. The arrest of several underworld crime figures in Indonesia. Footage was released today showing the arrest of 5 suspects, including Kihil Badar Padme, a known organized criminal in Jakarta, Indonesia.
The footage of the operation that led to the arrest of 5 Sri Lankan organized crime suspects, including Kihil Badar Padme, had been recorded by an officer of the Indonesian police, and the footage has been released. The footage was captured and shared live by Aibtu Sakaria, an officer of the Jakarta Metropolitan Police, through his social media account under the name Jacqueline Choppers. Zakaria, who actively participated in the operation, recorded the scenes in real time, adding a unique dimension to the high-profile arrests. The suspects were apprehended on the 27th of August while residing in a high-rise apartment complex in West Jakarta's Kebon Jeruk area. The arrests followed a classified and complex operation led by Sri Lankan Assistant Superintendent of Police Rohan Olugala and Mahinda Jayasundara, who had been in Indonesia since the 23rd of August. The operation was carried out in collaboration with the Jakarta Metropolitan Police's Criminal Investigation Division and the Indonesian National Police Interpol Center. Based on intelligence provided by the Sri Lankan officers, Indonesian police raided the apartment complex and successfully detained the suspects. Footage of the suspects being escorted to the Bandaranaike International Airport for handover was also shared by Officer Zakaria on his social media platforms, continuing the public documentation of the operation. The Western Province North Crimes Investigation Division informed the Colombo Magistrates Court that 2 organized criminals, Bako Saman and Thambili Lahiru, who were arrested in Indonesia and brought back to Sri Lanka, are being detained and interrogated under the Prevention of Terrorism Act. The police division submitted an investigation report and formally notified Additional Magistrate Oshada Migara Maharachi of the ongoing proceedings. Police stated that the suspects are being held at the Colombo Port Police Station under a detention order issued by the Secretary of Defence in accordance with the PTA, while further investigations are underway. The additional magistrate ordered that the progress of the investigation be submitted to court on the 9th of December. Separately, Colombo Chief Magistrate Asanga S. Bodaragama, granted permission to the Criminal Investigations Department to record a statement from the wife of Bako Saman, who is currently in remand custody over money laundering charges. The magistrate instructed prison officials to facilitate the CID in recording the statement next Monday. The Colombo Magistrates Court had previously ordered that the female suspect, who was arrested in Indonesia and brought to Sri Lanka, be remanded until the 18th of this month.
The substances believed to be used for manufacturing the drug ice, which were discovered in the towns of Middenia, Kandana and Tangol, Netolpitia, have been handed over to the Police Narcotics Bureau for further investigation. According to police, 2 suspects arrested in connection with this incident have also been handed over to the Police Narcotics Bureau.
Following an interrogation of the organized criminal named Bako Saman, who is currently being held under a detention order, a haul of chemical substances were discovered in the areas of Middenia, Kandana and Tangol. A former Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna member of the Agunukula Palasa Pradeshya Sabha, Vijay Vikrama Manamperi Piyalsena Dira, who is allegedly the brother of the owner of the land where the substances were buried in Middenia, has also been arrested and is being held by the Police Narcotics Bureau under a detention order. His 82-year-old father was also arrested yesterday. During a search of the house on the Middenia property by the Police Special Task Force yesterday, the officers seized 3 T-shirts with police emblems, 2 pairs of police uniform bottoms, a piece of police uniform fabric, 2 batons, 2 leather belts and 4 camouflage belts, a T-56 rifle belt, the barrel of a 12-bore firearm, a locally manufactured firearm that can use T-56 ammunition, the functional part of a 12-bore firearm and its barrel. Police also stated that a pair of motorcycle number plates and a pair of car number plates were also found hidden on the property. Sampath Manamperi, who is said to be the owner of the land in Middenia, was also a candidate who contested the last local government election for the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. Sampath Manamperi has now fled the area and the police have launched an investigation to arrest him. An investigation has been initiated by the Customs Department regarding how 2 containers with substances believed to be used for the manufacturing of the drug ice were released from customs. The Criminal Investigation Department is also conducting an investigation into the release of the containers. Meanwhile, the police STF also searched a house in Nuwara yesterday, which is believed to have been used as an ice drug manufacturing facility by the gang of organized criminals, including Bako Saman and Kehilbadar Padme. The house was rented monthly by Kehilbadar Padme. The homeowner told the police that a truck loaded with a white-colored mineral rock-like substance was brought to the house a few months ago. The truck had broken down near the house, which drew the attention of the homeowner. Due to his protest, the truck was reportedly sent back.
Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya made a firm declaration in Parliament stating that no individual involved in drug trafficking will be shielded or protected under the current administration. Responding to a statement made by parliamentarian Nama Rajapaksa regarding the recent discovery of a suspected stock of chemicals used for the production of the drug ice in Middenia, the Prime Minister emphasized that the government is committed to doing everything possible to end the drug trade.
Now they are talking about 2 containers. Cranes didn't just lift the containers and take them to Middenia. When they arrived at the port control unit stopped them. These containers were held and inspected, according to reports from foreign intelligence agencies. Yes, even the government newspapers like Dinamina reported this. These agencies provided information either late last year or early this year. At that time, the containers had not yet been released from the port. Police officers acted swiftly, and with the support of the Narcotics Bureau, the containers under customs custody were thoroughly inspected. But even after this inspection, the containers ended up at someone's house. How did that happen? Is that also the fault of the Rajapaksas? According to this logic, the entire port is controlled by the Rajapaksas. Customs is controlled by the Rajapaksas. The police are controlled by the Rajapaksas. And even organized criminals are controlled by the Rajapaksas. Then what's the point of your government? Don't try to pin the government's deals on us. The containers were released by government ministers, not us. You're the one saying it. I didn't make that claim. Your own minister said the containers were released. Now you're shouting here. You point fingers at us, but just like that rocket that fell in Palavatta, tomorrow the ice containers will fall there too.
Ice container Palavatta udara වැටේ. ඒ නාමල් ඉන්න. මම ඔබතුමාගේ මුත් ඉල්ලනවා පුළුවන් නම් නාමල් മന്ത്രിතුමාට
I kindly request that you ask MP Namal Rajapaksa to remain in the chamber. The containers were released by the government and hidden on a property of a local government councillor who is a supporter of Namal Rajapaksa. What a strange country. We didn't mention Sampath Manamperi, Namal Rajapaksa or Gotabaya. The real organized criminals aren't just Makhandure Madush or Kehel Badar Padme. Today the truth is coming out about who the actual organized criminals are. And it's not just anyone, it's you. We say this with responsibility. Investigations are underway. Phone records are being examined to see who Padme and the gang contacted. All of Madhush's secrets are being uncovered. We ask, what happened to the billions Madhush had? He was ready to name 80 politicians involved in drug trafficking, but Gotabaya Rajapaksa suppressed it. Even today, those names remain hidden. That's how they buried the truth. So maybe they are wondering why Padme didn't meet the same fate. But Padme's time will come. However, with what is being exposed, they have started to panic.
කාගේ පැතිකිරිය රටට හෙළිදරව් වෙනවා. ඒ නිසා තමයි කලබල වෙලා ඉන්නේ.
එතකොට අපි කාටවත් මෙතන මෙන්න මේකයි උනේ අරකයි උනේ කියලා නිකන් මේ සුරංගනා කතා අපි කවුරුවත් කියලා නැහැ.
We haven't made up fairy tales about what happened. But how is the opposition spinning these stories? For heaven's sake, let's stop this drug trade. Let's save our children. This is a repeated plea from us. That's a promise we are fulfilling. At the very least, Parliament should remember what it stands for, who we represent. Many in the opposition seem to have forgotten that. We are doing everything we can to stop the harm this drug trade causes our children, our families, our mothers and our society. We will not protect anyone. Let them face the consequences. We will end this.
කරගත්තු දේ මේක අපි නතර කරනවා.
අද මොකද්ද මේ කුඩු මුදල් හැයිලා මෙතන කියන්නේ?
What are these drug lords saying here today? They're running the drug trade and adding a massive layer of hypocrisy, political hypocrisy. I don't think that mistake can be fixed. Why? Because now Pohutua and SJB are one and the same. Aren't they? You're all one group. Even the recent Tirupati visit was with your allies.
එකට ගියේ. දැන් එතකොට බැඳුම් කර හොරු කොයි පැත්තේද ඉන්නේ?
So Speaker, where are the bond scammers now? Tell us, where are the bond scammers? Are you now with the UNP?
තුමාලා එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයත් එක්ක ඉන්නවද? මට මයික් එක දෙන්නකො මැතිතුමා. මේ සමගි ජන බලවේගයේ ඕනෙන් මම කතා කරන්නේ අපි ඒකාබද්ධ විපක්ෂයක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ගොඩක් අය ඉන්න පුළුවන් කණ්ඩායමේ. හැබැයි අපේ පක්ෂය වෙන එකක්. හරි මේගොල්ලෝ දැන් රෙදි නැති වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. මේගොල්ලන්ට ඕන ජාතික ජන බලවේගයට මොකක් හරි එකකින් ගහන්න.
These people have been exposed. Now they want to attack the National People's Power from any angle. That's why they are now standing with Ranil, the bond scammer. They are with Pohutua too. That's why we say this is what's happening now. They are with Ranil and the bond scammer. They've also lost their cover. They can't go to the village anymore. Now they are with the ice traffickers. SJB is with the ice traffickers. The opposition leader says that there's a link between the two ice containers and the 323 incident. What kind of lies are these? That's why we challenge you. Learn the difference between customs and ports. They said weapons were found. They said drugs were found. But when asked for evidence, they go silent. Instead of talking here, go to any global intelligence service and file a complaint. A group of lawyers already did that. Now what? These people are wearing diapers.
දැන් මේගොල්ලන්ට මොකද්ද? දැන් මේගොල්ලන් ඩයපර් ඇඳලා ඉන්නේ. මතකද දන්නේ මීගමුව පැත්තේ කුඩු රණ්ඩුවක් බේරන්න ගිහිල්ලා.
Remember the drug bust in Negombo? The Godfather went to stop it. Who went? The president of the country, Mahinda Rajapaksa. Oh, maybe that wasn't Namal's father. In Parliament, can Namal Rajapaksa mention one person in the family without cases? On the 29th of June 2020, authorities conducted an operation and seized 94 kilograms of drugs. A man named Farhad Shakir was arrested. He's allegedly linked to the attempted shooting of Donald Trump. International discussions are ongoing. But where is the man who was arrested with 94 kilograms of drugs? They probably used the courts and the Attorney General's department to protect him. That is history. The southern coast has become a hub for traffickers. Just recently, a relative of a ruling party MP was shot dead in Gaul. Was it over a land dispute? What was the reason? Has anyone explained it yet? No. That's why people with criminal histories are now criticizing the government on Facebook using random clips. So we invite the opposition, come forward with the truth.
Meanwhile, this matter was also discussed at the cabinet media briefing today.
පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරයට අදාළව හිටපු ඉබ්‍රහීම් නැමැති සැකකරු සම්බන්ධයෙන් ජාතික ජනබලවේගයේගත් ක්‍රියාමාර්ගය සහ මේ අවස්ථාවේදී මේ මද්‍රව්‍ය ජාවාරම සම්බන්ධයෙන් ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදු ජන පෙරමුණ මේ සැකකරුට ගෙන ඇති ක්‍රියාමාර්ගය සම්බන්ධයෙන් සංසන්දනාත්මක ප්‍රකාශ කරමින් ඔබතුමාලාගේ පක්ෂයට ආණ්ඩුවට චෝදනා එල්ල කරනවා. මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඔබතුමා මොන වගේ මතයක්ද දරන්නේ?
Ibrahim was a candidate on our national list. A considerable amount of time after that, his two sons and a daughter-in-law were involved in this attack. After that, several members of the Ibrahim family were arrested and interrogated. Those activities are ongoing. No one is saying that we did anything to prevent their arrest. No one in the Pohot tour is saying that either. However, I am saying that this is a well-known person, the candidate Manam Peri. There are many connections. Now the police are investigating them. We are saying hand him over. There is no point in saying that one of our candidates was involved in that attack and refusing to hand over Manam Peri to the police. If you don't have him, it's enough to just say that. You should not take on that responsibility.
ඔවුන් චෝදනාවක් එල්ල කරනවා ඔබතුමාලා ඉබ්‍රහීම්ගේ පක්ෂ සමාජිකත්වය අහෝසි කරේ නැහැ. හැබැයි ඔවුන් එලෙස සිදු කරා යයි කියලා.
To revoke it, Ibrahim wasn't a party member. Not everyone on the national list is a party member. Ibrahim did not have a membership in the party to be revoked. Ibrahim was a businessman who was honored by several institutions, including the Ministry of Industries and the Ministry of Trade. I saw a group including GL Piris and the Prime Minister at that time giving him awards. He was known as a person who had received special awards at that time. Until then, no intelligence information had been reported about him. However, this Manam Peri, who you are trying to compare with him, is a suspect in the assassination of Ravi Raj, and he has several other charges against him. Those will be revealed in the future. Don't get agitated. The investigations are only at a certain level so far. As the investigations and interrogations proceed, more connections will be revealed and arrests will be made accordingly. I am telling the Pohot 2 MPs not to get agitated. Your agitation will create an unnecessary impression among the public about you. People will think that what they are assuming is correct. Just give some space for the investigations.
Heavy rainfall in Kandy this evening resulted in floods at the Kandy railway station and several other places in the city.
Due to heavy rain since this afternoon, the Mahayava region was flooded and the flow of traffic in the area was also affected. In addition, the Kandy railway station was also flooded this evening. According to Newsfirst correspondent, traffic on the Kandy Nittavela road was affected and several houses were also flooded as a result of heavy rainfall. Steps have also been taken to open 3 sluice gates of the Polgola Dam. Meanwhile, the Met Department says that thunder showers accompanied with severe lightning are likely to occur in the central, north central, eastern, Uva and Sabaragamu provinces and in the Vaunia, Mana, Mullaitivu and Hambantota districts. There may be temporary localized strong winds during thunder showers. The general public is requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by lightning activity.
Case file.
Former Minister Vajirabewardena and former State Minister Vadivil Suresh were summoned before the Unlawful Assets Investigation Division today.
The police announced that the former minister and the state minister were summoned today in connection with an investigation initiated following a complaint on illegal assets.
Case file.
Former Fisheries Minister Rachita Senaratne, who was remanded in connection with an alleged loss of over 20 million rupees to the government by awarding the Kirinda Fisheries Harbour sand mining project to a Korean company, was granted bail today by the Colombo Chief Magistrate Asanga S. Bodragama. The suspect was released on a cash bail of 50,000 rupees and 3 sureties of 2 million rupees each. He was also barred from travelling overseas. The case is scheduled to be taken up again on the 10th of October.
Case file.
Meanwhile, the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption has informed Colombo Chief Magistrate Asanga S. Bodragama today that former Minister Kehelia Rambukwala, his wife, 3 daughters and son-in-law, among others, have been indicted in the High Court under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Considering the facts presented to the court by the Bribery Commission, the Chief Magistrate concluded the proceedings of the matter in the Magistrates' Court.
Newsfirst with the people.
Speaker Dr. Jagat Vikramaratne informed the Parliament that the Supreme Court has determined the President's Entitlements Repeal Bill to be consistent with the Constitution.
A total of 6 petitions were filed against the President's Entitlements Repeal Bill. 3 of the petitions were submitted by Mahinda Patirana, a lecturer at the Sabaragam University, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa's media spokesperson, attorney at law Manoj Kamage, and former Chief of Staff of Sri Lanka Navy, Mohan Vijay Vikrama. The other petitions challenging the bill were filed by Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna's Administrative Secretary, Renuka Pereira, and 2 others. The petitions were heard before a judge bench of the Supreme Court, comprising Chief Justice Preeti Padman Surasena, Achala Vengapuli, and Sampath Abekun.
I wish to announce Parliament that I have received the determination of the Supreme Court in respect of the bill titled President's Entitlements Repeal, which was challenged in the Supreme Court under Article 121(1) of the Constitution. The Supreme Court has determined that no provision of the bill is inconsistent with any provision of the Constitution and can be enacted by Parliament with a simple majority. Further, the Supreme Court has rejected the petition number SC/SD/29/2025 filed in this regard on the ground that the petitioner had failed to comply with the mandatory provisions in Article 121(1) of the Constitution in invoking the jurisdiction of the court. I order that the determination of the Supreme Court be printed in the official report of the today's proceedings.
It has been decided to close the Colombo Central bus stand from midnight tomorrow due to renovation work. At a media briefing held today, the Sri Lanka Transport Board announced that all SLTD services except for the joint timetables will operate from Bodhi Rajamawatha.
Clean Sri Lanka
A project to modernize the central bus terminal, which is under the purview of the Sri Lanka Transport Board, is scheduled to begin this 15th under the patronage of His Excellency the President as part of the Clean Sri Lanka program. The Clean Sri Lanka project is expected to allocate nearly 540 million rupees for this endeavour. The project is anticipated to be completed within 1 year. This means that next year, when people travel to their hometowns, they will have the opportunity to make travel arrangements from a new bus terminal with new facilities.
සහිත පර්යන්තයක සිට ගමන් පහසුකම් සකසා ගන්න අවකාශ සලසලා තියෙනවා.
ප්‍රධාන බස් පර්යන්තය නැත්නම් CBS කියලා අපි නම් කරලා තියෙන බස් පර්යන්තයේ
With this modernization project, the bus operational plan at the main bus terminal, which we have designated as CBS, will completely change. Starting from the evening of the 11th, all services that were previously operated from the main bus terminal or CBS will now be operated from our new terminal located on Bodhiraja Mavata. All preparations for this have already been made. Here we are implementing two phases. First, bus services that currently operate on joint timetables such as the Colombo-Jaffna route and routes 87, 7 and 4 are already being operated through Bastion Mavata, and this will continue. Furthermore, all other main services including long distance and short distance routes like Nigambo, Chilau and Kuliapitia will also operate through Bodhiraja Mavata. We have made all necessary preparations for this. If there is any traffic congestion when long distance buses and short distance buses arrive at the new Bodhiraja Mavata, we will ensure our service operates smoothly. We will continuously receive the unwavering support of the Sri Lanka police. Our staff and managers will always be at the terminal, and if you require any assistance, we will provide our full support.
වාචිකව යම් කිසි උදව්වක් අවශ්‍ය නම් අපේ සහභාගීත්වය අපි නොමදව දෙන්න සූදානම් වෙලා ඉන්නවා.
Starting off with some developing news, Nepal's President Ramchandra Paudel and Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli both resigned this morning amid mounting pressure after one of the deadliest crackdowns in years left at least 22 people dead and reignited nationwide protests. The protests began when the government banned social media.
Fresh protests were reported in Nepal even after the government lifted the social media ban. Protesters set fire to many buildings in Kathmandu, and the wife of former President Jananath Kanal was burnt to death when their house was attacked.
Nepal's President Ramchandra Paudel and Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli resigned on Tuesday amid mounting pressure after one of the deadliest crackdowns on protests in years left 22 people dead. The resignations come against the backdrop of angry demonstrations led largely by young Nepalis. Despite government attempts at conciliation, including restoring access to social media and announcing all-party talks, anger has continued to boil over. Some protesters targeted government buildings and properties belonging to politicians, while others accused security forces of murdering civilians. Houses of political leaders were attacked in Kathmandu Valley by protesters at noon, defying curfew orders. According to sources, Gen Z protesters on Tuesday targeted the residences of political leaders and ministers in Kathmandu Valley and other districts, hurling stones and setting property on fire. Another Nepali Congress leader and Minister for Agriculture and Livestock Development, Ramnath Adhikari, resigned from his post on Tuesday, citing the government's authoritarian response during Monday's Gen Z protests. At least 19 people have died and more than 300 injured in Monday's protests called by the Gen Z movement against corruption, political apathy and social media restrictions turned violent across the country. 17 deaths were confirmed in Kathmandu while 2 others died in Itahari. Hundreds of injured protesters are undergoing treatment in hospitals in the capital. Many are said to be in a critical condition. Anger against the government for what many view as rampant, decades-long corruption in Nepal was already simmering, and it spilled into the streets of the capital last week after the government blocked social media platforms including Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, YouTube and X in a move that was widely criticized by rights groups. The government had written new rules it said were needed to clamp down on fake news and hate speech, and threatened to ban any social media companies that failed to register. According to foreign media, by midnight last Thursday, 26 platforms had gone dark. International organizations have expressed deep concern over the escalating violence in Nepal. UNICEF voiced grave concern about reports of violence involving children. The organization reminded Nepal of its obligations under the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child to ensure the safety of children during protests. Meanwhile, the embassies of Australia, Finland, France, Japan, the Republic of Korea, the United Kingdom and the United States in Kathmandu expressed their sorrow over the violence. The National Human Rights Commission, along with other rights groups, called on the government to avoid excessive use of force against protesters. As the protests largely led by Gen Z activists continue, the NHRC and Human Rights and Peace Society have urged protesters to avoid arson and vandalism, while also calling for accountability for the violence. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has advised Sri Lankans in Nepal to remain indoors as much as possible to ensure their safety from attacks, issuing a special announcement in this regard. The announcement was issued taking into consideration the protests spreading across several areas, including the capital Kathmandu. It further stated that in case of an emergency, Sri Lankans in Nepal may contact the Sri Lankan embassy through the 24-hour hotline +977 985 104 8653. Sri Lankans have also been advised to keep water and dry rations with them. The announcement issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs added that the situation in Nepal is being continuously monitored.
France was thrown into further political chaos this week by the ousting of yet another Prime Minister after continued budget deadlock. Prime Minister Bayrou and his centrist minority government lost a confidence vote with a total of 364 lawmakers voting against the government and only 194 in favour.
The latest government collapse was widely expected after Bayrou failed to win support from political rivals for 2026 budget plans aimed at reducing the country's yawning budget deficit amounting to 5.8% of gross domestic product in 2024. Bayrou will hand his resignation letter to French President Emmanuel Macron, and a new government and premier will be nominated in the next few days. Macron can choose a new prime minister, the fifth prime minister in less than 2 years, or create a technocratic government, but both motions are likely to face the same political opposition to budget cuts. The president could also call another snap parliamentary election, but that too could deliver an inconclusive result or give even more seats to the far-right National Rally or to the far-left France Unbowed party. Macron is seen as likely to choose yet another centrist ally to lead the government, but he will need to find a candidate who is a census builder and who can unite disparate political positions and demands. While France has some experience with the president and the prime minister hailing from different political families under a structure known as cohabitation, so-called grand coalitions in the National Assembly are not part of the country's political culture. A new prime minister will also get a measure of public anger over proposed spending cuts and reforms, with unions calling for nationwide anti-austerity protests on the 10th September and the 18th September.
Thailand's Supreme Court ruled billionaire Thaksin Shinawatra must serve 1 year in jail in another major blow for a powerful family that has dominated politics for 2 decades.
Thailand's Supreme Court ordered former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra to serve a 1-year prison sentence, ruling that the time he spent in a police hospital could not be counted as a prison term. The verdict follows a protracted public debate over whether the 76-year-old former premier, who returned from 15 years of self-imposed exile in 2023, received a preferential treatment by being sent to a hospital instead of a jail cell. Thaksin arrived at the court in Bangkok accompanied by his daughters, including former Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra. The court spent about 1.5 hours reading the order, which cited the need to enforce the original prison sentence. He was immediately taken back into custody following the ruling. Thaksin returned to Thailand on the 22nd of August 2023, a day when the Pheu Thai party, led by his daughter Paetongtarn, was forming a government coalition. He was set to face an 8-year sentence for abuse of power charges. On the same night, he was transferred from Bangkok Special Remand Prison to the Police General Hospital, citing a medical emergency. He remained there until he was granted parole on the 18th of February 2024. During his hospital stay, a royal pardon was granted, reducing his 8-year sentence to 1 year. Following the court order, Thaksin's daughter Paetongtarn spoke to the media.
Our entire family is immensely grateful for the royal grace that pardoned and reduced my father's sentence to 1 year. We thank everyone for their support. Thaksin remains a spiritual leader in politics, and his work for the country reflects his genuine intention to help the people prosper. My family and I are worried about my father, but we are also proud of the history he has created. Today is another historical moment as he becomes the first former Prime Minister to be imprisoned. This may be a difficult time, but both my father and our family are in good spirits. As for me and the Pheu Thai party, we will continue to work as the opposition, serving the public and holding the government accountable.
The ruling on Thaksin's sentence comes just days after the Constitutional Court removed Paetongtarn from the premiership, ruling she had committed an ethics violation over a phone call with Cambodian Senate President Hun Sen.
Chinese President Xi Jinping attended a virtual BRICS summit and called on BRICS countries to forge ahead in solidarity and cooperation.
The summit was chaired by Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva and also attended by video link by Russian President Vladimir Putin, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian, Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto, the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Khalid bin Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, and the representatives of India and Ethiopia. Chinese President Xi Jinping said that BRICS countries standing at the forefront of the global south should act on the BRICS spirit of openness, inclusiveness and win-win cooperation, jointly defend multilateralism and the multilateral trading system, advance greater BRICS cooperation and build a community with a shared future for humanity. He made 3 proposals to this end. He first called on BRICS countries to uphold multilateralism to defend international fairness and justice. His second proposal was upholding openness and a win-win cooperation to safeguard the international economic and trade order. Thirdly, BRICS countries should uphold solidarity and cooperation to foster synergy for common development. The leaders noted that the global governance initiative proposed by President Xi is pertinent and points the direction and path for improving global governance.
The Israeli military has said that explosions seen and heard in the Qatari capital Doha were the result of an assassination attempt against members of the Hamas leadership and senior officials of the Palestinian group.
It is the first such attack by Israel in Qatar, a key mediator in ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas. Israel has been bombarding Gaza, Lebanon, Yemen and Syria, as well as carrying out daily attacks in the occupied West Bank in Palestine. The military released a statement saying the IDF and Shin Bet through the Air Force recently carried out a targeted attack on the top leadership of the Hamas terrorist organization. The statement said that before the attack, steps were taken to minimize harm to uninvolved people, including the use of precision weapons and additional intelligence information. In a statement, Majid Al-Ansari, spokesperson for Qatar's foreign ministry, said the country condemns in the strongest terms the attack, which he said was carried out on residential buildings housing several members of the Hamas political bureau.
Indian media reported that the Ministry of Home Affairs of India has stated that Sri Lankan refugees will now be eligible to apply for Indian citizenship.
On the 3rd, Indian media reported that the central government has allowed Sri Lankan Tamils who entered India before 9th of January 2015 without proper documentation and registered as refugees to legally stay in the country. The reports noted that the Ministry of Home Affairs has stated that Sri Lankan Tamil refugees will not face penalties if found without valid passports, travel documents or visas. According to Indian media, the Ministry of Home Affairs of India added that in this situation, Sri Lankan Tamils will not be eligible to apply for long-term visas but can apply for Indian citizenship. Long-term visas, which are usually a precursor to obtaining Indian citizenship, are issued for periods ranging from 1 to 5 years. There is a rule allowing people from Afghanistan, Bangladesh and Pakistan who enter India without passports or visas to apply for long-term visas after 11 years of continuous stay. However, Indian media reported that Sri Lankan Tamils will not be eligible for this provision.
Minister Bimal Ratnayake said in Parliament today that the country has received $1 billion in foreign direct investment in the first year of the presidency of President Andrew Kumar Dissanayake.
Although 12 months have not yet been completed, from 1st October 2024 to date, the country has received exactly $1.015 billion in foreign direct investment. That means these are not the amounts that were merely signed or pledged. These are the funds that have actually been realized. On 21st September 2024, when our president won the election, the country was in ruins. The economy had collapsed, despite Ranil Wickremesinghe claiming to have extensive international contacts where even $200 million could not be brought into the country. Even though Sajid Premadasa claimed he could make calls and attract investors, at that time even $25 million could not be brought into the country. After our new government came into office, in this first year alone, we have brought in $1 billion. The reason for this is efficiency, dedication, zero corruption and skill.
The delegation of German Industry and Commerce in Sri Lanka successfully hosted the Sri Lankan German Tourism Conference 2025 in Colombo today.
The Sri Lankan German Tourism Conference 2025 is held within the framework of a one-week business delegation visit to Sri Lanka organized under the Market Entry Program of the German Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy with support from Bondacon International and the German Travel Association.
Sri Lanka is a key player in the region and an important partner for Germany. Our diplomatic ties, as you may know, date back to 1953. Our two countries work together closely regarding geopolitics, national reconciliation and transitional justice, as well as on many economic and financial issues. I understand that there's a lot of untapped potential in areas like skilled labor migration, higher education, and in general for even closer ties between Sri Lanka and Germany.
So we have very ambitious plans, particularly for this year. We have a target of 3 million visitors, arrivals, and by now we have completed more than half of it, and by 2030 our target is 5 million visitors. Over the decades, Germany has been one of the top source markets. With the growth of Asian markets like India, China, now German is somewhere 3, 4, 5 in terms of visitor generation. But in terms of the numbers, expenditure per tourist, I think still German remains in top.
The program featured 2 panel discussions, expert presentations and company pitches highlighting new opportunities for cooperation. The conference brought together over 100 distinguished participants from both the Sri Lankan and German public and private sectors, including senior government officials, corporate leaders, regulatory authorities, development partners and media representatives.
Strengthening Sri Lanka's voice in Codex, benefits, challenges and the way forward. A workshop organized by the Ministry of Health and Mass Media in partnership with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations was held in Colombo today.
The Ministry of Health and Mass Media, in partnership with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations with the support of the European Union delegation, hosted the inauguration session of the workshop titled Strengthening Sri Lanka's Voice in Codex, Benefits, Challenges and Way Forward in Colombo today.
In terms of public health, Codex Alimentarius will set the frame for the Ministry, for the government to do inspections and check, and public health is interest number 1. Secondly, food exports. Yes, of course, our consumer back at home also likes to make sure the pesticide, the aflatoxins and all these things are checked before the products arrive. So this is another very important element of the Codex, to make sure that those exports from Sri Lanka are safe for the consumers wherever they are. Then we're talking about farmers, processors, and so on and so forth. The food safety ecosystem, our Codex is important for that. But I would also say it's important for Sri Lanka's reputation on the world stage. And I'm also thinking of the tourism sector in particular. You have so many visitors coming to Sri Lanka, and you don't want these people to get sick, you don't want these people to be exposed to microbes, let alone pesticides and all the rest. So reputation also. So you can see this is really a very, very important topic for Sri Lanka in general, and we're happy that our EU BESPA project, which is implemented by FAO and UNIDO, is able to address it and bring you all together here to this workshop.
Once the food is produced, basically there are 3 partners mainly, the consumers, the regulators and traders. Firstly, we need to look into the consumer health. So that is why we have to regulate. So in Sri Lanka we have Food Act, and the implementation of Food Act is a part of looking into regulation with the objective of getting good food to consumers. And then of course the trade should take place. This trade is national and international, and therefore the Codex standards are very important. The decisions made at Codex shape the rules of international trade and influence the standards in the country. It is important that Codex standards are based on science to alleviate compounding complexities in international food food trade. And Sri Lanka too boasts of some of the unique food products internationally renowned, like tea, spices, especially cinnamon, so just to name few. So we have made our name on the world map. So active and effective participation at Codex activities discussions is very important.
The event focused on enhancing Sri Lanka's active role in Codex, addressing national food standards and promoting global collaboration in food safety and quality.
Sri Lanka signed a $100 million deal to strengthen food security and market access with the World Bank.
The government of Sri Lanka has finalized a financing agreement with the International Development Association, or the IDA, of the World Bank Group to borrow $100 million for the implementation of the Integrated Urban Development and Climate Resilience Project, or the IRD-CRP. The agreement was signed on the 8th of September 2025 by Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma, Secretary to the Treasury, and David Ensislan, Country Director for Maldives, Nepal and Sri Lanka of the World Bank Group, representing the government of Sri Lanka and the IDA respectively. The total project cost is $120 million, with $100 million funded by the World Bank, $3 million from domestic sources, and an additional $17 million expected as beneficiary contributions. A key component of the project will be the establishment of productive partnerships between smallholder producers, buyers, and the public sector, focusing on strengthening market linkages.
The 2025 Asia Cup T20 cricket tournament is currently underway in Abu Dhabi. The first match is being played between Hong Kong and Afghanistan. The official local broadcasting rights for the tournament are held by TV1 of the MTV-NBC Media Network.
This marks the third edition of the tournament in the T20 format. The 2025 Asia Cup T20 tournament is set to kick off in the United Arab Emirates, with 8 teams vying for the coveted trophy. In the group stage, the teams will compete in 2 groups, A and B. India, Oman, Pakistan and the UAE are placed in Group A. Sri Lanka is in Group B alongside Afghanistan, Hong Kong and Bangladesh. All matches of the tournament can be watched live on TV1 and online via the website sirasatv.lk.
AC Milan Academy Camp has returned to Sri Lanka for the second edition of its Youth Football Development Camp, organized in partnership with the Colombo Athletic and Football Academy.
The camp, running from the 8th to the 13th September in Colombo, welcomes boys and girls aged 6 to 17, offering training under certified AC Milan coaches. This marks the third major youth football program conducted within 9 months, underscoring a long-term collaboration aimed at building structured pathways for young Sri Lankan footballers. The Italian ambassador to Sri Lanka and Maldives hailed the program as a bridge of cultural exchange and sporting values between Italy and Sri Lanka. Officials from the Colombo Athletic and Football Academy said the repeated international exposure demonstrates a strategic commitment to nurturing young talent and developing the culture of football in Sri Lanka.
That's a wrap of Primetime News on TV1 for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.